All right, mic check, good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron and we are here in Denver for the NASCC show. And we have a very special guest who is also our neighbor here on the floor. We have Beth Kitson from the Association of Women in the Metal Industries. Good morning, Beth.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Have you been having fun at the show?
I have. It's been a great show so far.
Yeah. Have you guys been getting what you think is the right amount of people? High, low? What were your expectations?
It's far exceeded our expectations at this point. We've had lots of people stop by and inquire more information about our organization, and it's been a great channel to be able to communicate about it.
Awesome. And that's kind of the feel I've been getting from everybody. The show coming out of COVID, it's always like, is there going to be lots of people? Is there not going to be lots of people? You're not kind of sure, but it seems like everyone's pretty content with the turnout.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my first show with AWMI as an exhibitor, so this is a new experience for me, but it's been, again, far exceeded my expectations based on what I've heard in the past.
Now, is this your first show with your group at any conference, or have you guys been a part of other conferences?
AWMI has been a part of other conferences. This is my first volunteer opportunity to work the booth.
Okay, and that's fun too?
Yes, absolutely.
You meeting lots of weird people?
No, they've all been great people.
I'm probably the weirdest because I'm the neighbor. So, and it's awesome because we were trying to get a hold of you, and then we're like, we really want to interview somebody that represents kind of like the female side of the trades. Try to get somebody more, get some more, I guess, broader range of audience, and it was perfect that we were right beside you.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, okay, because as soon as we got here, Danielle, I was like, that's who we want to get on the show. It's like, perfect. Hello. So, Beth, about yourself first, before we get into what your organization does.
Yeah.
You said you're from Dallas, you said.
Yes.
Born and raised in Dallas?
Actually born and raised in Michigan, spent 10 years in Seattle, and just moved to Dallas last year, May.
So you've hit almost all four corners of the U.S.
I'm getting there.
You just need Florida. That's the only one left,
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
So you were born in Michigan.
Yes.
So winters, cold.
I do.
And
I
then
know snow.
Snow. So if we're from Canada, so people ask us, is it cold up there? It's like, well, there's parts of the U.S. that almost get as cold.
Yeah.
But and then Seattle after?
Yes.
And what took you guys to Seattle?
Job opportunity with the company I worked for prior to the one I'm working for now.
Okay. And then from there to Dallas.
Yep.
But the company you work for now is based out of?
They're actually headquartered here in Denver.
Okay. So it's got a pretty wide reach. So like you can work remotely basically from anywhere.
Yes.
And I'd imagine that there's probably a range of volunteers across the country and stuff like that.
For the organization?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 18 chapters throughout the U.S. and one in Toronto. And everybody is a volunteer that's a part of the organization.
Mm-hmm. So what's your background in your professional life? What did you start like out of high school or college? What did you do?
I have a degree in marketing and went into work for a small company working in their marketing department, transitioned over to sales throughout that time period, and then went into sales management for a company that sells conveyor belts, and then transitioned to the company that I work for now, working in a similar fashion as a sales manager, and work very closely in the metal industry, supporting them with our products.
So marketing and sales is your game.
Yes.
And that's a very important part of any business, regardless of whether, it's, like a for-profit or for a not-for-profit entity. Sometimes that gets overlooked. Sometimes think that these not-for-profits will just exist.
Yeah, right.
But that's not, I guess they could, but that's not a forward progressive one. You want to grow, you want to find ways to bring in new revenue and customers and clientele.
Absolutely.
And then on the other side, you want to be able to reach more members, right?
Yep.
So you said you worked with and around the steel industry. In what capacity?
Providing them services to keep their businesses running.
Okay, so like with
And
marketing?
With products, selling them products to keep their businesses running.
Okay, I see. And then your understanding of the steel industries, would you consider yourself a part of the steel industries, industry, I guess, or more of the marketing sales side? Because they go back and forth a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
My role is a peripheral addition to the steel industry. So
Mhm.
I support the steel industry by providing them products to keep them up and running and allowing them to produce their products.
Okay, and then what kind of products are those? I'm just curious.
I sell MROs type products, in the conveyor belting side
Okay,
and
yeah.
hoses and belts and things like that.
Okay, so like parts to keep equipment running and moving.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. And those things are things that are consumable. They blow up and they get
Exactly.
wrecked and they get worn.
Right.
Now, have you been doing that for a long time?
That's been my career for the better part of 15 years now.
So you know your stuff.
I try.
Now, working within these fields, whether it's sales or marketing or in the periphery or involved in the steel industry, there's not a lot of women representation. It's very heavily male dominated.
Yes.
Right. And I mean, and we can use the terms broadly in terms of male and female, but if you really want to narrow it down, if you start looking at, the LGBTQ community, the trans community, and then also even within the people of color that intersect with those. So like a person of color who's a woman
Right.
is even less, or a person of color who's a woman or, identifies as something else other through the LGBTQ community. Now that is a tricky thing to try to support because the numbers are so low.
Right.
It's been really difficult. I just saw in welding we're less than 4% in Canada,
Oh, wow.
which is I thought it would be more, honestly. In my career, I've worked with women, but if I start really thinking about it, it's like, well, I guess if I really wanted to put it, has it been 4 of 100? Yeah, that's probably about right. In your field, with what you do you feel like there's a better female representation? Because it's a little bit more office work, which sometimes just like people think women go to office work, men go to field work, which is kind of like these pre-designed.
I'd like to keep this in relationship to AWMI and
Mhm.
and talk about it. My experiences with it. I would say that the representation from the events that we hold and the gatherings that we get is still well underrepresented for the female market, but
Mhm.
is growing and
Yeah.
continues to grow. And we continue to have conversations on how we can get it to grow.
Yeah. Now, what do you feel are some of the maybe key indicators that would be focused, like education, or or marketing, or I guess.
I think a lot of it has to do with education as far as getting more women involved with it. Teaching women that they can do it, that they're capable of doing it. Because, sorry if I'm going off on a tangent here,
No, it's
but
good.
what we see is if there's a job posting for a job and it's got these different requirements,
Mhm.
a man will look at that and say, I can check 1 or 2 of these boxes, I'm going to apply. A woman will look at that and say, I need to check all of these boxes before I even think about applying. So it's breaking down those barriers and having those discussions to say, you don't need to check all the boxes to apply. If you want to have an opportunity, talk about it and explore that opportunity and see if you can be a good fit and get into that role. And I think that's the conversation we need to continue to have with the females to
Mhm.
get them more involved in roles that have been traditionally looked at as male roles.
And that's an amazing example because men will have the privilege of saying, I may not know it all, but I can fake it. I can figure out the rest, or I'll get trained, or I'll learn. Because there's just an expectation that there will be the support. There's
Yeah.
just an expectation. Someone will support me and help me through this process.
Yes.
And women don't have that expectation. They fear being seeming needy, or dumb, or uneducated, or not knowing.
Incompetent,
And
yeah.
and it shouldn't be that way. It should be the exact same thing. And if we're really, as a society, saying, well, we're aiming for this gender equality, we're aiming for 50-50, then it should be obvious that we perhaps need to maybe forcefully support those initiatives instead of just saying, well, let's just hope it's equal. Well, you don't balance the scale by putting the same weight on both sides.
Right.
You need to overcompensate for a while
Yep.
in order to level things out.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of, we talk about this all the time. It's many companies that we work with, or we see, or we go to talks to, will talk about gender equality in a different sense than equity, right? So they'll be saying, okay, well, if I give $10 to each group, then I'm creating an equal space. Even though I'm 99% man, 1% woman, I'll put $10 into each pot, and now we're doing our job, instead of saying, well, maybe we should be doing $100 into this pot and zero for this one for a couple years,
Right.
to try to level this out.
Right.
But then that's seen as like, well, then I'm not supporting.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
So how do you guys look at something like that? You know, what's your take on that?
It's just, I don't know. It's tough. I'm really not sure how to answer that one.
Yeah, it's a big question,
Yeah.
right? Now, let's talk about your agency. You know, what's the roots of the company that you work for, which is a volunteer association. I'm sure there's a little like core of paid people to make it run, or is it? How
Yes.
does it work?
So AWMI is an organization that was founded in 1981, so
Okay.
41 years, and it was developed in California, where a group of women got together and said, we need to band together to figure out how to empower ourselves in this male-dominated industry. Since then, it's grown. It is run by a management company, and that's the Tally Management. So that we fund them to provide our legal services and our financial services and things like that. But everybody on the AWMI side is a 100% volunteer organization. So there's 18 chapters in the U.S., one in Toronto, and each of those chapters has its own board that run the chapter like a small business.
Mhm.
And so it gives the members opportunities, the board members opportunities to try new things and learn new skills with a safety net. So if a woman who is working in marketing wants to join the board, she can go and work as the treasurer and learn how to do, strengthen her accounting skills and learn
Mhm.
QuickBooks and things like that. Or, there's lots of examples like that allow women to, again, round out their skill set.
So for a person that's looking to join your organization, there's not a prerequisite that they need to be a part of a trade already, or like, what do you guys look for in terms of the volunteers?
They have to somehow touch the metal industry.
Mhm.
It's historically been mills and service centers that have been the primary makeup of the membership, but we're really expanding. Right now we've just brought on a new corporate member that's in the paint industry. Because
Okay,
they've supplied paint to metal
Yeah.
companies. So it's as long as you somehow interact with the metal industry, you qualify to be a member of the organization. To be a board member, you have to be female.
Okay, and then it's okay. So that's interesting. So anyone can be a member,
Yes.
male or female, doesn't matter.
Yep. And our membership is about 50-50.
Okay, but to be on the board and to be one of the executives of whether it's a regional chapter or your overall
Our international chapter,
Yeah,
you have to be female.
female,
Yep.
or identify as female,
Yes.
I guess, to be specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in terms of your outreach, I'm very interested to see how this works because in the United States, things have worked very differently than in Canada.
Okay.
In Canada, we have a lot of funding bases, right? So like the government will fund quite a bit, and associations will fund within larger organizations. Where do you guys access funding from? How do you guys, get your programs off the ground and decide how the chapters are supported and stuff like that?
So we have a lot of corporate memberships.
Okay.
So big corporations can be members of the organization, and they finance us through sponsorships and donations and things like
Okay.
that. We reach out to them on a periodic basis and ask them to help us donate. And then we also hold fundraising events, golf events and auctions and things like that to help fund but we don't really get into asking our government for any money. We are an international organization. We don't ask the U.S. government for any money. I can't answer to the Toronto chapter.
Yeah. Now, in terms of international, this is an international.
We are
thing?
listed as an international organization. We do have the one chapter in Toronto, but that's the only one that's outside of the U.S.
Are you guys looking to expand into like Australia or Europe or wherever?
We're always looking to expand our chapter base, but it's a matter of finding champions to do it and having those resources to do that. So it's pretty limited with
it's
a group our
tough.
size.
So like our association, we have over 40,000 members, 18
Okay.
chapters.
Okay.
We're looking to set our first American one up in Texas.
Oh wow.
So like we're kind of in the same boat.
But then and we only have 1,200 members, so I mean,
Yeah.
we're quite small comparatively.
Well, we're 100 years old.
Okay.
So we've been around a long time to picking at the membership, right?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we're now looking to see how can we, the first thoughts for us were okay, can we set up some type of women only or pro woman or pro female or LGBTQ or pro minority or, try to find some angle within our organization. And that's really, really hard to do because of bandwidth, the amount of staff you have, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, well, for us, it's probably smarter to just partner, right?
Yep.
And so, like, looking to organizations like yourselves, Women in Trades programs in Canada, there's Mining Association of Women in Canada, stuff like that. We're trying to partner with these groups because at the end of the day, they're the experts of what they do.
Right.
Right. And for us, it would be like a big learning curve. And plus, at the end of the day, I'm a man. So my perspective as good natured or in wanting to be active and proactive about the situation, I am limited into what I know, right?
Right.
So that's step one, is knowing that it can't be me, right?
Right.
It needs to be female champions, and like my staff, they take on so much of that work for me because at the end of the day, I don't want to get involved. I just want to be an ally. Just let me ally from the outside and support how I can, because I don't want to come and man this thing up, right?
Right.
Now, for you guys, in terms of your programming that you do, what kind of programs do you have your chapters work with the public with?
So we have educational events, tours, networking events. But if I focus on the educational, we will get speakers from various industries to come in and talk about, what the industries might look like, what a, outlook might look like for the next year. Different types of educational events like that to help broaden perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
We've done educational events to more like what's the word I'm looking for? Growth opportunities, development type
Okay, like
opportunities.
upskilling and training. Yeah.
Yep, things like that. Different types of training. We've done some sales training courses and
Oh, that's interesting.
things
Yeah.
like that. And that starts to get into a little bit of a niche market, because not all, our group is very diverse, and
Mhm.
we've got some salespeople, but not all salespeople. So it's trying to find the mix that hits all of the members equally. So we tend to do the educational events again that include a speaker and keynote addresses and things like that.
And we kind of do the same thing because on our angle, we have so many welders, because we're very much welder centric, the Canadian Welding Bureau, right?
Right.
But it's like, okay, well, welders can go into sales, welders can go into marketing, welders can go. And you know what? If you're a large producing company like the companies you see here, and you need a marketer, it would be fantastic to get a marketer that has previous welding experience, because they know the product, they know the industry. It's much less of a learning curve than hiring a marketing student who has no idea what the welding industry or steel industry is.
Right.
Now, for you guys, do you also do like hands-on training? Do you try to coordinate any like welding exploratory classes or fabrication or stuff like that?
We've started to get into that a little bit more. Our Toronto chapter actually did hold a welding class at a welding instruction school, where they brought the people who signed up for it, and they did some hand-on welding and things
awesome.
like that. It's new to us, so we're still exploring that. But hands-on training is definitely something that we're trying to get into more.
And how does it work for the venues and like the chapters? Are they all just like they just raise their own money, spend their own money, or is there any like national head office supports?
So the international board has its own set of funds and a set of budget items, and then each chapter has their own as well. And the chapters are responsible for funding all of their own educational events and developing fundraisers to generate the funds to develop those classes and those opportunities. And so the international chapter or board can help a chapter that might be struggling or something like that, but each chapter is run like its own business and does everything from fundraising to spending the money on their own.
Mm-hmm. And do you guys, like when you guys set up these things, do you market them nationally? So say, one of the chapters in Philadelphia, I don't know if you have one in Philadelphia, but if you have one in Philadelphia, awesome. And say we're doing an event. Do you guys offer like supports in terms of engagement, marketing, Instagram or whatever?
Yeah, so we're on all of the social media channels, and
Okay.
we do a lot of advertising through that channel. We have a website that has a calendar, and each of the chapters lists all of their events that are
Okay,
coming
awesome.
up for the chapter. And we're working on developing an app so that if a person who travels for their company and is in a market that has a chapter, that it'll show up on the app to say, hey, there's an event that in your area right now that you could attend. So we're looking at expanding that advertising potential.
That'd be super cool. tossed around the idea of an app, but it seems really complicated and expensive.
That's a whole different department that's working on that. So I can't speak too much to it, but I know that they're working on it.
What we've actually gotten the chapters to do for us is we've gotten them to use the Eventbrite platform, because the Eventbrite does have geolocating. So if you follow a chapter, if you go into their area, then it does pop up on your Eventbrite that there's an event going in. It's a free service. It's obviously not ours, but it is useful. So
Okay.
now, how did you get involved with this? Like, how did this come across your table as even a thing? And then when did you decide that you wanted to be a part of it?
So in 2010, I moved from Michigan to Seattle, and I had a customer already waiting for me. Went in to visit with that customer, and she said, "I want to introduce you to AWMI." And I said, "I would love to be introduced to AWMI." And I'm new to the area. I didn't know anybody. Didn't know how to necessarily go out and meet anybody. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to start gaining new contacts and new relationships. So she introduced me to AWMI, and it wasn't long after that I got involved with the board, and I was on the Seattle chapter board, and that's where I served most of my time. Relocated to Texas last year. The Texas chapter, I'm based in Dallas, and the Texas chapter is based out of Houston, so I've not been involved with them too much yet, but I want to get involved more. I've held various positions throughout the organization, and right now I'm just a member. I don't hold any position or any title right at the moment.
Except for working at these events, which is very time consuming, a lot of work.
I'm a volunteer to work at the event because I'm very passionate about the organization and what they do.
And what attracted you most when you first came in? And list them all, because some seem obvious, like networking, but networking has a lot more value than people realize.
Yeah. For me, the biggest draw for me when I first heard of the organization was finding out who the different companies were that were involved, so that I could look at them as business opportunities.
Okay.
Can I sell my products to them?
Yeah.
And learn context from this organization to get my foot into the door. That was my first initial driver. Once I got into the organization, the benefits of the female empowerment and breaking people out of their shell and building people up far outgrew any other benefit for me. So that's why I remain passionate about the organization. I love what it does to help women grow and do things like ask for the raise that men have no problem asking for, but women don't want to ask for it. Be empowered to say that I deserve this. I deserve a seat at the table. These are the things that continue to drive my passion for the organization.
And that's so important. One of the things that I've, really been trying to focus in this last year in terms of women empowerment and what I can do perhaps from the outside is trying to get the concept that we need more women to climb the ladder. I've seen a lot of money over my career get invested into the entrance portion of the career. Companies will spend money and there'll be programs and, try trades and WIT programs, which 100% yes are awesome. And we'll get many women to sign up for welding courses, fab courses, electricians, carpentry, but the attrition rate for women is 10 times that for men. If you get 10 men and 10 women to finish a course, you go back 5 years later, there might be 1 or 2 women that are still a part of it. The industry has made it really uncomfortable and undesirable for them to stay. So you don't have the same level of growth where there's women foremen, leadership positions, CEOs, or the thought that, hey, you know what, I can start a company. I don't need, maybe I don't like working with people. Maybe it's not even a man-woman thing. Maybe I just don't like working with people. I want my own company. I feel like a guy feels much more comfortable saying, I'm just going to start a company than a woman does.
Right.
And that shouldn't be that way. It should be like, if you want to start a company, you start your damn company. Like, no one, it doesn't matter, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's where I feel that hopefully I can help push that, because I'm in a position now where I have a good reach of audience, and I see a lot of women enter the trades. It's like, okay, great. A lot of different organizations are helping women enter into the trades. What can I do to try to, make them excited to stay and kind of like win, like climb that ladder, be a boss. I tell the story all the time. I welded for 27 years. I never had a female boss in 27 years.
Right.
How is that possible?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that seems like it's a ridiculous statistic personally. And now maybe that's not indicative of everyone, but from a personal standpoint, I find it's ridiculous to be able to say that, because I've had bosses that are people of color. I've had bosses that were indigenous. I've had bosses with disabilities, but never a woman. That's not right.
I think the key starting point, and we shouldn't be at a starting point. We should be well beyond a starting point right at the moment. But just continue to talk about it and encourage it and change the conversation. And because until women realize and understand that they have the ability to do it, they're not going to do it on their own. And
Yeah.
they need that encouragement.
And that they're awesome at it.
Yeah.
Like really are. Like all the statistics have shown that for the trades, women are usually statistically better. Right? More attention to detail, less conflict at work. I mean, you know how many men I've seen throw tools in a rage in a shop, like a 5-year-old, you know, it's like
there was a person who stopped by the booth yesterday and has a welding company, and she said the females have no drama and the males have all the drama, and I was surprised by that.
No, this is very true.
And I was happy by that, and and I just found it a very interesting conversation that we were having yesterday.
Yeah, and you know, I've worked for a large manufacturing company that was very proactive with hiring women, and had, you know, I would say hundreds of women working for them on the floor, and the women would support each other and, you know, help each other, even if they weren't friends. There was a sense of camaraderie and support, and the men would fight and be undermining, and I mean these are very large generalizations,
right.
of course.
I realize this,
but it's just getting past this like social barricade that's been created, and people are like, well, we should be past this point. But these barricades, these obstructions to equality, have been built over thousands of years. You know, so it's really amazing / disgusting that that these barricades have been around for so long. Because like my mom worked in a manufacturing plant. We were from a communist country, and in communism, there's a lot of bad things about communism, and one of the good things about communism is men and women are seen as the same.
Yeah.
They're workers.
Yep.
You're just a worker.
Yep.
So my mom worked in manufacturing. My dad was a miner, and so it was like I grew up in this world where it's like women are just the same. If you can work, you work, and it doesn't matter where. It's just what it is. And so we come here, and it's like my mom tried to get a manufacturing job in Canada, and it was like, no, women don't do that. And she's like, I've been doing it for like 10 years. What are you talking about? You know, like
right.
And so then she had to go and get step back, and ended up being a receptionist at the doctor's office, which she hated.
Right.
Like answering phones and stuff. Like she'd been working with her hands, and that's what she loved to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and it's like, this is not supposed to be like this. You know, where do you see this organization going kind of in the future? Like, what are the next steps that you guys want to take?
My colleague and I have been discussing this over the last couple of days, and you know, again, I'm not on a board or anything at this point anymore, so I don't have as much influence. But I guess where I would like to see it is the direction that it seems to be taking right at the moment, that I'm very pleased about, is that they're looking at expanding who can be a part of this organization. Again, those more peripheral type of companies that support the steel industry, and then broadening the educational offerings. You know, not just talking about one particular metal product and talking about maybe some things that appeal to a broader audience, like trying to diversify, you know, diversity and inclusion and things like that. Trying to talk about how we, find more ways to get females involved. You know, different types of educational events, again, that appeal to more than just one particular topic.
Have you guys ever done like a tour between chapters? Do the chapters collaborate with each other for speakers and stuff like that?
Yeah,
because that's something that we started doing in Canada, and we found it was some success there.
Yeah, so again, we are broken up in 5 different regions, and twice a year the regions will get together for a conference, and then brainstorm ideas off from each other at that point as well. And then once a year for the annual conference, everybody gets together, and again, the regions break out, but it's a lot of collaboration and sharing of ideas and brainstorming of ideas of well, this worked for us, it might work for somebody else, and vice versa.
Now, for the public that's listening, you know, how could they get involved? You know, like how do what's the website? What are the aspects that they could contribute to?
So the website is awmi.org, and just reaching out and saying, I'd like some more information. It's very easy and very friendly to be a part of this organization. Again, we're about empowering people, and so if you want
Who doesn't
to,
like that?
right? If you will feel welcomed the
Yeah.
second you try to reach out to us, and we are more than happy to talk to you about it. And again, I am a member at this point, just a member. I'm not a part of the board. I don't have an agenda, and I love this organization. It has helped me come out of my shell. I a few years ago would turn red and have 8 million ums and uhs and wouldn't be able to speak to anybody. And now
But
here
you
I
knew
am.
inside what you wanted to say and what was like, your stuff.
Yes.
But it was just that.
That mental block.
Yeah.
And through the practice of public speaking, I can stand up and speak to people. I'm not great at it yet, but I've certainly gotten a lot better because of this organization. And now here I am sitting here having a conversation with you and feeling like I can talk about it
Yeah.
and have a conversation. And
Well, and I read once that one of the hardest things for a woman to ever say since the day they're born is no. And that is something that's conditioned from a very, very young age. There's studies in kindergarten where, do you like this? And a boy will say no. And you like this, a girl will say, well, that's not my favorite. They'll try to get around it because they'll see that it's somehow wrong to say no.
right.
And that is something that carries on for a long time where, in the workplace, it's very important to be able to say no.
Yes.
There are times that you 100% need to say no because it's your career, it's your life, it's your mental well-being, your
Yeah.
emotional well-being. And if any of those things suffer, you are not going to be able to produce for your company.
Correct.
Period.
Yep.
Right? So how would an organization like this, and it's kind of like, let's create an imaginary state here. How would this have been of use to you if, as a young woman, to have had access to an association like this? Like, it existed when you were young.
Yep.
But you didn't know about it.
Correct.
You didn't come into it until much later, or I don't know. I have no idea how old
That's
you are.
okay.
Yeah, but if you would have had this around, in your early 20s when you're coming out of college and getting your first job, and you would have been able to join this organization, how much do you think it would have helped you progress in your career?
I feel like even joining it a little bit later in life, it helped me build confidence. And I think that's what a lot of women need is the confidence to just say, I can do this. I know I belong here. I fit here. I know this, and this is what I can do, and this is the value I can provide and the value I can offer. And I deserve it just as much as anybody else. And again, even joining as late as I did, I can't believe how much it's helped me realize that and change that. Again, asking for the promotion and asking for the opportunity to, rise up to the next level, that personal and professional growth is invaluable to me. I can't express it enough. And I think that's what it would have done for me before as well.
And the women around you that even witness your confidence is very important, right?
Yes.
Because you want to be able to see an example, a mentor, right, of
Yes.
success.
Yes.
Because success isn't something that is just a natural thing that just pops into people's brains. I'm just successful today. It's something that's bred and cultivated, and generally through learning from others around you.
Right.
It's like when you run into somebody that is smarter than you. You have two options. You can try to be a jerk about it and try to force your position, or you can learn.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that is the same thing that needs to happen with empowerment is, we can, if I come across a very strong woman, all my staff are women actually right now, and very strong women. And when they tell me like, hey, that's dumb, I'll be like, yes, like 100%. I need you to be empowered to tell me that because you're right.
I think constructive criticism is the key to so many things. It's how we grow. It's how we get better. And I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I said, my goal right now is to be better than I was yesterday.
Mhm.
And that's my goal every day when I wake up. And an organization like this has helped me see different ways that I can be better, and that I can show somebody else how to be better. And I can provide that service to another person is beyond words, beyond measure for me.
And like you said, anyone can join.
Yep.
Men, women, pigeons, cats, anybody, whatever's.
We'll gladly take cats.
And then, but for the board, it's women. So like, if you wanted to join the board, is there a process? You have to be a member first for X amount of time, or is it a nomination process? How does it work?
So most of our boards aren't completely full, so there's usually a spot on them. Sometimes they are full, and then there's an election process that can happen. Our international board is purely election process, so you have to be nominated, then be have an election and votes and things like that. But the chapter boards usually have openings, and I'm speaking in generalities here because I don't have all that data in front of me. But you have to be a member in good standing, which means you've paid your dues. And I don't recall if there's a time limit. I don't think I was a member for 2 months before I was on the board, so I think it happens very quickly.
Well, I've been we have chapters. We are a company, but we also have our franchises, our 18 chapters, and they're all volunteer, 100% volunteer as well. I served as the chair and treasurer and a number of positions within my local chapter before I ever even thought about working at the company. And like most volunteer association chapters, when you show up, you're new blood.
Yep.
And it's like they're on you, man.
Absolutely.
Like they're on you.
It's the same with us. That's for sure. That's
It's like, oh, we got someone new. You're going to be treasurer starting tomorrow.
We need a programs chair.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then before you know it, if you show a little bit of ambition and gumption, you're probably going to be the exec, or the chair at some point, which is empowering. And people have asked me many times, how have I climbed the ladder of my career? I said, I would say a good chunk, and I don't know anywhere from 50 to 70% of my, successes have been because I've invested a good chunk of my life into volunteerism.
Yep.
Right. I volunteer for groups. I volunteer for multicultural organizations. I volunteer for, I volunteer for Pride. I volunteer for my local welding chapter, and all these things create a network of contacts, people that you get to know.
Yep.
And you get experience running things. Like you're 100% responsible as a volunteer.
Yes.
And there's really no oversight because you are the oversight.
Right.
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 And so it's a great learning experience because things can get hairy and things can get confusing, but you have your team and you have to work it out. Right.
It is. And again, that's the beauty behind an organization like this is that there is a safety net there. I mean, there's not micromanaging oversight, but there is a safety net that
you can reach out to.
That I don't understand how to do this, or maybe I did this incorrectly. Hey, we can help you fix it. There's time to fix it. There's ways to fix it, and then we grow and learn from that and become better, well-rounded people.
Now, if a company's listening, how can they sponsor? How do they get involved and feed some money or products or maybe some subject matter experts for speakers or stuff like that to your organization?
They reach out to our international membership chair as well. That's all on our website, the AWMI.org, and just say, hey, I am a company looking to be able to get involved with your organization and see how I can help. And we're always looking for speakers. We're always looking for new venues of education and tours or whatever the way, however they want to help. It's pretty easy to reach out to probably our international membership chair who's listed on our website as well.
What if there's not a chapter in their specific region? Then what happens?
You can absolutely still be a member. There is more value of being closer to a chapter because that's where all the events are going to happen. But we do have a lot of events that happen, especially since COVID, that are virtual. Yeah. And so they can still participate. We still have our annual conference that happens every year. This year will be held in San Diego the first week of November. And if you travel for your job, you can definitely travel to some of the other chapters and stuff like that. But we're always looking to expand our chapter base as well. We're currently looking at expansion opportunities here in Denver. We're looking in Phoenix, and we're looking in Florida as well. So we've got some expansion opportunities in the works right at the moment, and we're always open to other opportunities.
Which is your most, involved or, busiest region of the 5 regions you have?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. They all do such a great job.
Yeah.
Everybody is so passionate about it, and they all come with unique ideas. I mean, we got everything from crawfish boils down in Texas
that sounds fantastic.
to different the auctions that raise lots of money up in Seattle, and they all do a great job. I couldn't pick one.
And are you guys looking to expand chapters? Like you got one in Canada. Are you looking to expand more into Canada?
Again, we're always open to expansion opportunities. Yeah. There are requirements to become a chapter, and you need champions. And so if we get a couple champions to help develop a board and then get members, let's rock and roll. We're ready to go.
Well, we may have to have some conversations about some partnerships here. Like we are always looking for other not-for-profits to work with, and we have a vast library of resources at our disposal as a company, because we have great funders and great funding sources, right?
Right.
And so that's something that we're always looking, and we don't want to get too much involved with private companies. Like, I mean, we love taking private companies' money, but we don't like giving it back,
Right.
Like we want to make sure that goes down the line.
Yep.
And we're really focusing on grassroots. Like, let's get this into people's hands, and not even so much students, because there is honestly so many great organizations that are giving out the scholarships and the bursaries and the funding. We feel like that's covered, and we would just be another name on the list. But what else can we do? What other opportunities that are outside the box, like this podcast, or like YouTube channels, or Instagram, or social media influencers, or people themselves? Like, let's find people that are on the ground doing cool stuff and support them.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And this is kind of this seems like a really interesting organization. So I'm surprised. I know you may have heard of it, but I don't know.
Fabulous. Well, Becky's at the booth, and she's our international membership chair, and she'll be happy to help you out.
Well, I'll probably join too. We can both join. So, and then, and for the people that are listening, we're coming up on around the time limit for the podcast.
Okay.
What are some of the things that you would want to see them bring? You say you want a champion. You want champions to come and align themselves with your guys' organization. Well, what would be the prerequisites of a champion? What is a champion?
Again, somebody who's passionate about building a network of opportunities for other people. I'm not sure exactly how to articulate it, but it's
a good speaker, not
Yeah.
shy.
Yeah, I mean, just somebody who says, "Hey, we want to build this opportunity to get people involved so that they can learn, they can grow, they can educate themselves, they can network with other people, and grow their base of their foundation, and just somebody who can say, yes, I want to take this bull by the horns and develop a program to launch a couple of events for this region. And I know that I have, resources here, and here that I can help get involved that will, meet the requirements of getting, if you're going to hold an event, you want people to come. So how do you get the word out to get people to come to your event? And so it's people who have networks and opportunities to get that information out to other people to build that base up and develop the chapter.
Okay, and then for in terms of the sign-ups and stuff like that, that's all online.
Yep.
All the information's online, easy to get a hold of.
Yep.
And then if they want to do outreach, or if, like, let's say there's not enough support for getting a chapter, they can still just join from wherever, right?
They can. And let's take, for example, the Houston chapter. They have done events in Dallas and in San Antonio to help build a base there. So we do have some chapters that are willing to travel a few hours away to develop more of a market in similar markets. So that's not out of the question either. And we can do that in other areas too.
What are some of the prerequisites to having a chapter? I know ours. We have our rules. You want to have a chapter, you need X number of board members. You need a minimum of like 5, I think, to establish like your treasurer, chair, vice chair.
I think we need 4.
Yeah, and then
then
we say a minimum of 3 events a year.
I think, so we have 4 events per year as well.
Okay.
And then you need 25 members.
Okay. All right, so that's not unreasonable.
And you got a year to do it. And I'm certain that we would be pretty flexible, especially if you're pretty close and you're like, hey, we're darn close. I'm sure we'd be flexible.
21, 22.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, is there anything you want to send out to the listeners on behalf of your organization? You could have a little bit of space here to talk about, how to, sign up, or anything that you guys are maybe working on right now.
So I would say the biggest thing that I want to share again is that this is just a fantastic organization to give you a safety net to round out your skills and grow yourself personally and professionally, work with other people in similar industries and different industries to expand your knowledge base. And again, we have an annual conference that is packed full of panelists and economic speakers and all kinds of different educational opportunities, personal speakers. We had a person last year that did safety as far as, like active shooter situations. It's very outside the box,
Yeah,
but it was very educational. And I think it gave a lot of people some good information to make them feel safer out in the world. So I would just say reach out to awmi.org and get a hold of any chapter, any board member. We're all happy to help bring you on and get you more information to make you successful.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great learning experience for me. We've learned lots. I think you've made a couple new members here out of our team, and we're more than happy to share this. This will go out to our members now through the podcast and our listeners, and hopefully this will help you recruit for across the country and all of North America.
I appreciate the time and the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, for the listeners that have been checking it out, make sure you check out the website. Beth here has been fantastic. And, we're going to share all the links and all their stuff through our social media as well when this rolls out. And stay tuned. We got lots more shows coming out of Denver during this conference, and we're going to have lots of fun. And I hope you guys have a great show for the next couple days here.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
We hope you enjoyed the show.